Welcome to another video in this series of videos related to object-oriented programming with Python. In this video, we'll be taking a look at how static and instance methods work. So an instance method is typically a method that makes use of the self parameter to access and modify the instance attributes of a class. Basically, whatever methods that we have seen so far in the previous videos have all been instance methods. Whereas a static method is a special method that is not tied up to any particular instance of the class, and it does not need the self parameter to be passed. But how to use that method? Let's see an example for that. So for that case, let's define a class as employee. Let's say there is one method employee details, and this is an instance method, so I will be passing the self parameter, and let's say we define the name of the employee in this is Ben. Okay, and so this is basically an instance method like I mentioned, and if we want to call create an object and check, so what I can do is I can just simply call this employee details method, and it will basically assign the attribute, it will create an attribute name and assign the value Ben to it. So I can check that by printing the attribute, the employee dot name. If I will print that, and let's try to run this code and see. Yeah, as you can see, the name gets printed. So this is fair enough. This is the typical example of instance method. But what if we want to define a function which is generic, which is not tied up to any particular instance, or it has a common functionality across for all the instances of the class, and it is not tied up, or the behavior will not change based on the instance. Let's say we have a function called welcome message, and what I want to do is just print saying that welcome, just basically a welcome message for any employee that comes in. So welcome to our organization. Okay, so, and if I want to call this method using the object that we have created, if I try to run this function this time, it will say that there is an error because the welcome message takes a positional argument. Basically it takes 0 positional arguments, but it was given 1. The reason for that is the implicit call that happens here is this, and that's the reason we are getting the error. So this we have already seen in the previous videos. So the solution for this, or the way to handle this, is to basically define this method as a static method. And how we can do that is using a decorator called static method. And once we define this function with this decorator, Python will automatically interpret that we want to ignore the object binding, or we want to ignore the binding of this function with a particular instance. So it would no more need a self parameter to be called or passed to this method. If we define it this way, let's try to execute and see what happens. Yeah, so now if you see, we have got the right message, and there is no error, and this is how we define a static function. So the usage for a static method, like we have seen, of course, and the one thing that I mentioned is, if let's say there is some functionality which is independent of the instance of the class and is common, that time we can define the static method in this fashion. Yeah, so basically that's all about static and instance methods. I hope this video was useful, and I'll keep on continuing making similar videos trying to clarify basics of object-oriented programming with Python. So thanks a lot for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.